Hello, this is Sammy.
I'm Abby.
And Maddie.
All right, so Abby, give your overall impression of your lesson launch. Was it effective, and how do you know? And if it wasn't effective, what could you do differently in the future?
I think it was effective just because every student was able to restate the problem in their own words and then apply what they saw in the different pictures and stuff to their work later on, and they were all able to solve the problem correctly in multiple ways also. So I think that really helped show me that my launch was successful.
All right, and then describe your successes at expliciting student thinking and what improvements could you make?
I think that I did a good job with asking different questions, like what they saw in each picture, and I asked them in different ways what the problem was saying. So like I asked them to explain that there were however many that there was 4 tigers and that the rest were monkeys, and that there was a total of 10 animals, so getting them to really understand that in different ways.
All right. And then for your talk moves, you used, I know I call it wait time, revoicing, and like turn and talk. You kind of made the turn and talk like a whole group thing, which I thought was better than having them pair off, since there was only 3 of them. Mm-hmm. And then one of them has to talk to the teacher, and I feel like sometimes that can be kind of like, it's like leaving somebody out. So I like how you did that. And then with the revoicing, you just kept making sure that they were understanding that there were only 10 animals, 4 of them were tigers, and some of them were monkeys, and you just kept emphasizing that we were just trying to figure out how many monkeys there were. And then for the wait time, I think that was perfect. You gave them a chance to sit there and really think about what they were going to say before they said it, and you gave them a chance to really think about the problem before we started all sharing and everything. So I think you did really good on your talk moves, and I think it did help with, in the end when at the end of the lesson during the discuss, and it made it much easier for them to feel comfortable and talk about what they did and their strategies. Mm-hmm. Okay, and then our students. So Kevin, today, the last 2 lessons, Kevin had made improvements. He was actually understanding the problem and making sense of it. Yeah. But today he made 4 blocks for tigers and then had 6 for monkeys. And then I was like, oh, he really got it and he understood. But then when we went to talk to him, he was like contradicting everything that he was saying on there. Like then he would say there was only 4 tigers and 1 monkey, and he like had the math out there, but then like couldn't talk about it. So that was kind of strange. But I think for understanding the understanding the problem and like making sense of it, I think he definitely is making progress.
Yeah, I think at the end he was definitely able to understand that there was only a certain amount of monkeys and that he couldn't really change that, because I think they were kind of trying to focus on the last lesson and that like the different combinations.
Yes.
So I think after we got past that, they were able to really understand, or he was especially, that there was only 6 monkeys.
And then for Emily, she did a lot better today with explaining how she, like what strategy she used and how she solved the problem. Most of the time when I start asking her questions, like she had 4 + 6 = 10, and I asked her like how did she know that? She said I just knew that in my head. And then she goes, I took these chips and I represented that. I started with 4 yellow chips to equal the tigers and 6 chips to represent the monkeys. And so she was able to talk today without looking at me and saying, when I asked follow-up questions, she didn't look at me and say I don't know or I can't remember. Mm-hmm. So I definitely think she's progressing. Like I wouldn't say she's met it quite yet.
Yeah, I think she's definitely gotten a lot better with like explaining her math, like you said.
And then for Maya, I really think she's probably met her goals. She's able to always find the solution, and then she's able to talk about it. And most of the time when she goes and talks about her strategies, she just plainly says, I just already knew that. Like I already knew that 4 + 6 = 10. Mm-hmm. And then like today she extended the problem and she was finding all kinds of different combinations of how to make 10.
Yeah.
So I'd say she met the goal.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
All right. So Madison.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. So give your overall impression of your lesson launch.
Well, my students like to go immediately into solving the problem once I start trying to launch it, so they don't really like to try and describe it. No matter how many times I ask them, they just don't want to do it. But today I got them to actually like try and describe the problem, and they finally like actually wanted to, and they explained it to each other instead of me. I asked them to, I said, can you just explain this to Ricky, how you're gonna solve it or how you were taking it, and then Ricky explained it right back. So
Wow. So do you think that was effective?
oh yeah, because they're like just like extremely like they're like they know more than London does, and London wasn't here today, so they were more focused on getting the answer.
All right. And then describe your successes at expliciting student thinking and what improvements could you make?
I asked a lot of questions about why they were trying to go for combinations instead of trying to figure out just one number, because I think they were trying to draw back on the last lesson. And then Ricky, I had to ask him so many questions because I thought he wasn't getting the problem, which was a first for him. So I just had to ask him a lot of questions, and then I asked each other to explain their thinking again, and I thought that really works.
All right. And could you maybe talk about like one or two of your talk moves that you might have used during the lesson?
I asked them a lot, like, why did you think that way? Because they like drew blocks instead of using blocks, which I was like, why did you like think to draw them instead of use them? And they said because they could cross things out and they could easily just like get rid of manipulatives instead of just like counting with blocks. So, and then another one I used was I changed the numbers with Jayla because she got to 10 immediately. She knew the 10. And so I said, well, can you do 15? Like, what would you do if this was a 15 problem? And she came up with an answer right away.
Okay. And then what evidence do you have from today's lessons that show that each student is progressing or has met your goals for them?
Well, Jayla, she works pretty easy to get to her numbers, and so I think that I've seen her grow, because when we first started with her, she was kind of confused, and then you have to explain things to her a little bit. But by this lesson, she kind of got it without me having to explain much. But with Ricky, I thought his goal would be a little bit higher, and so I tried to give him a higher number, and then he didn't meet that goal, so I'm probably going to bring the goal back, like, to the original one, I think.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.